I've completed the an intro to concept art and illustration and the advanced concept art course, so I think that I can do a review for CG Spectrum now. I remember when I was researching CG Spectrum 2 years ago, I was concerned that it might have been fake because I struggled to find reviews. I think it's a bit better now, but I don't know if there's still a YouTube video about it. So first I want to talk about what courses I took. Although this video is going to be relevant to everyone because I imagine CG Spectrum, the syllabus works similar in every course. But CG Spectrum also do a lot of other different courses. They do animation, 3D and 2D animation, they do modelling, game design, game programming, they do virtual production, VFX, yeah, they do a lot. So first, how it works, so when you start the course, you have a Q&A at the end of every week. So in that Q&A with your mentor, you talk about what you've done for that week. But what you use is Canvas, which has all the videos and tutorials and description of what you're doing in that week, which works really well because you want each video and each week to be very clear what you're doing. So having that on Canvas as well as your mentor makes it very extremely clear. It has all the materials. There's no room for kind of mistakes. So at the beginning of the course I was a bit worried that, I would just be taught by the videos, but it's not true. Your mentor has more time to teach you about, personalised things to you rather than just explaining what you're doing that week. You choose if you want to have a group or one-to-one. There's, I think, a maximum of 4 in a group, so it doesn't feel overcrowded. I chose a group, but I think it would be worth, if you can afford it, to choose a one-to-one because you do get a bit more time in the Q&A session and they're completely focused on you, but it is really nice in a group to meet other people and it creates a bit more friendly competition as well. After the Q&A you also have an opportunity to do an end of week submission, which sounds the same, but it's basically you submit your work for that week before your Q&A, and then after your mentors reviewed that week you also have an opportunity to continue that week's work for another, I think, like half a week, but you also have to complete the next week's work. So it just gives you time to act on the feedback they've given you if you are not carrying on that piece of work for the next week. The course material and content, I'm going to look a bit at my course work that I've done because I don't think I can show inside Canvas, which is the videos, weekly videos and things like that. So this should give a bit of insight to the first course I did, digital illustration and concept art, and also the second advanced course I did. So these are some stuff I did for the intro course. First got us to do a lot of sketches. This was before I ever met my first mentor, Eric. So I was very keen, excited about the whole experience. And then I think this is a really good example of the things you'll be doing for concept art. This is the first ever week of concept art in these courses I did, and I think it's a really good exercise because it makes you think about perspective, colour, grayscale, line weight, and design as well. Eric also gave us kind of extra work. Sometimes your mentor might, give you some extra stuff that you could do if you want to. So he told us to do a master study. This is part of the intro course. It's focusing on perspective. This was very useful. The intro course is kind of focusing on fundamentals. So you do 1 point perspective, 2 point, 3 point, 4 point, and multiple points in different places along a horizon line. This is character designing, vehicle design, using the perspective that you just learned. More character design. These projects are over a few weeks, so you might have 1 week where you're doing thumbnails, and then the next week, or thumbnails and grayscale, and then the next week you're doing colour and render and stuff like that. Or maybe it's split up on more weeks than that. It depends on which week you're on and what you're doing. This was one of my favourite. This is more illustration, and this was one of my favourite projects I did in the course, which was the Gates of Asgard. This is also designing it. It's also a concept art because you have to design the environment. But at the end you're kind of painting this scene. I really enjoyed this one. I think the Gates of Asgard was a good choice. And it's their choice. Some projects you get given a brief. There's silhouettes for sword design. It's a redesign of the Skyrim Elven sword, although looking back it looks a bit too grand. Render from the next week's. This is the beginning. I actually finished this in my last term of the advanced concept art, the next course. And in the second course, advanced concept art, we did things like this, which is a villain design, character design. I haven't finished this one, but I want to. In this advanced course, I really got to think more about variations of characters and designs rather than just me picking out one and then just going for that, which was good. And that was also, my mentor was good at teaching that. This was a 3D model they gave to us, and this was practice for matte painting on top, or photo bashing. But I think I've finished that one. But I found this difficult, and it was a really good introduction to it. I've never done that before. Next, do some paint overs on 3D sculpts. And also in this advanced course, which is a big plus, you start in an introduction to 3D sculpting and 3D modelling, which is really important. And I think it would have been a lot harder for me to learn by myself if I didn't have the introduction to it, because that really is kind of hard to get into, for me at least. Like, you open Blender and it's completely so much stuff. This was Sonic. This is the first project you do for the task you do for introduction to ZBrush and sculpting. So it's a tutorial on how to create this Sonic, and it was really useful. And then you get to do your own. This is my own sculpting, my first ever ZBrush sculpt. And also Blender. Again, this is not a modelling course, so this is, you can go as deep as you want in your extra time, but this is for concept art, this modelling and sculpting. And this is SketchUp, but I chose to use it myself because I've used it before. This is just a shell for interior design in the project. In this one, I really learned how to think about a lot of details in one concept art piece. And this was a hero design, which I haven't actually finished yet, but in the process of finishing, because I went quite ambitious with this one. And this was me finishing the island design that you saw in the first course, in this third term of the advanced course, because that's the term that you can kind of choose what you want to do with guidance, because it's meant to be building your portfolio personalised to you. And next is my mentors. I apologise in advance if I don't say your names right. So the first one was Eric Wilkinson, and he's an illustrator. He was my mentor for the first half of the first course I did, the digital illustration and concept art. And he was really, really good at giving us kind of extra stuff to do to practice like values and lighting and like doing master studies and stuff like that. He's also really good at kind of pushing you to think about the storytelling in your work and the composition and, you know, everything like that. My next mentor was called Brian Huang. I hope I'm saying that right. He was really good at kind of pushing you to think about quicker ways of doing things. Like utilising Photoshop to its, and not just Photoshop, other tools too, to its maximum. Like getting things done faster, which is a very much more concept art kind of way of looking at things because he's a concept artist. And it was really useful. Brian is also really good with kind of career advice. I went to him a lot to ask, you know, I was a bit confused sometimes like what I want to do in the future, and he had some really good advice. And then Brandon was my mentor most recently, just finished the advanced course, and he was really great at pushing me to do more variations of concept art designs, as if I were working for a client and not just thinking about what I want. Because it sounds so simple, but it's just, when you're working for yourself, it's just something you forget. All of them are really friendly. You don't feel like you're just with a stranger every single week. You get to know them a bit more, and it was really fun. A big plus of the course is actually the community. If it didn't have this kind of community, it wouldn't be the same, because you can always talk to people, and people are always posting their work on there, always talking to each other, giving each other feedback. There's TAs, teacher assistant, I think that stands for, and they are, I think most of them are students as well, but they've applied for the TA position in CD Spectrum, and they are often doing weekly challenges, which is kind of like a, you know, an extra thing that you could choose to do along with your course. There are multiple channels, modelers, DigiPaint, you know, programming. I quite often went into the hardware and software chat, you know, to ask what's going on with my Photoshop. There are also a lot of extra tutorials that you can do. I know that Eric, he did these weekly videos, mostly illustration, and they're all focused on different things, and they were really fun to join. There's also portfolio review sessions. There's sessions for everybody. This wouldn't be a review without me giving a little bit of feedback on what I think could be added. So what I don't know, maybe they've thought of this, maybe this is a rubbish idea, but I think it would be really cool if there was a course that was a collaborative course. So, you know, it's a choice to go on there, because not everyone can have the time to do a collaborative course, where you get put with other programmers, you know, modelers and concept artists, and you create like a game or something like that, or maybe you just put with other concept artists to create part of the project or something like that, because it would be really good to work on a structured project like that, where a mentor is overseeing the process and, you know, kicking anyone who's not doing their work. I think it'd be really cool if there was a term at the end of an advanced course, which is not mandatory, you can choose, because not everyone will have the time to do this, where you can get graded for maybe a project, and maybe they give you a brief and you get graded for this project, and it basically gives you some sort of grade and indication at the end. Let me know in the comments if you think I've left anything out and you have any questions.